At a time of great crisis, in the boardrooms of Hollywood, the legends foretell the development executives will return to Reboot It. Welcome back to Reboot It, the show for the golden age of Hollywood IP, where all of your favorite franchises will get reboots. We're just here to try to do it better than anybody else. My name is Producer Bill. I am a development executive in recovery, and with me, as always, the Reboot Crew. You know him, you love him. Late of the beloved Screen Junkies, Mr. Billy Business.
R.I.P. R.I.P. But look at my light. My light's better. Huh?
Your face is
turning
so
it around,
even.
man.
So even.
Turning it around.
Comedian, writer, and all-around raconteur, Ed Greer.
What is up, guys? Well, I'm here to do this impossible task with you guys.
Oof. Should you choose to accept it. And finally, the heart of the Reboot Crew, Mr. Round Swallow.
It's gonna be May. Okay, I don't know. That's where I was at.
100%. It is May, so you at least got that right.
Yeah.
Nice.
Which is the one where they do the heart thing? I can't even remember. It's one of those boy bands. NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, New Kids, whatever.
I think they all did it at some point.
Yeah.
Well, today we have got the puns right themselves. Just an impossible task before us. On our quest to reboot every movie franchise under the sun, we are tackling one that is maybe making me more nervous than any we've done in a very long time, even though we haven't done these in a very long time. I am, of course, talking about the Mission Impossible franchise. I know that I think we are all fans, but let's go around the horn. What sort of connection do each of us have to the Mission Impossible franchise? Billy, we'll start with you.
I saw the first one with my dad when it came out in theaters. I think it took me about 10 years to figure out what the plot was, but I loved it. Guy hanging from a thing was really cool. And I've seen them all. Like I've actually genuinely enjoyed all of them, some more than others, but I'm not a big spy movie person. I think I said that back on James Bond, like Bourne and all those. Like they don't really interest me. But I love Mission Impossible because to me, I think they're more heist movies than they are spy movies. It's just a group, a team doing duplicitous things to get a MacGuffin. And those are always like super fun. So the thing that I said before we started was this franchise has rebooted itself 3 times in its own lifespan. So yeah, I don't know how we're gonna do this, but I'm excited.
Yeah, this has truly been kind of every type of action movie you could ever want has existed in the Mission Impossible franchise. So it doesn't leave us a ton of areas to go into. But maybe I'm wrong. Ed, what are your thoughts on the Mission Impossible franchise?
I'm really into how it's reshaped itself over the course of time. It is an idea that started out way different than it ended up. And I think within that is where we're going to find our meat of trying to figure out how to do a new version of it, some sort of amalgamation of the various versions that it is. It is an action franchise. It is a lone man against stuff. It is a team movie. It is a team building movie. It is the collective rescue, this pinnacle of human dopeness. It is him saving the world by himself. It's all things, and it's no wonder it's been able to sustain this long. And I hope that this one is the last one, so that our reboot can take the stage and lead the new generation into Mission Impossible.
Gonna slide right in there. As soon as that Paramount Skydance merger closes, boom, we're in there with the reboot. Ron, how do you feel about the Mission Impossible franchise?
I love them all. Even number 2, which many people do not enjoy as much. But I mean, look, one of the things I like about Mission Impossible is kind of what Ed talked about, where because it's been around for so long, I've seen each Mission Impossible with a different friend group. So like when in 96, when it first came out, I was working at a movie theater and me and my best friend went to that and we got a giant bag of popcorn for all of you who are wondering, yes, I weighed 122 pounds at that point.
God, I love if you're a real fan of Reboot It, you should be able to track Ron's weight through most of his life at this point if you're paying attention.
That's what I'm here for. And then, but what was so cool was just the fact that we got to. Then later on, I went with like a girlfriend, and then later on, I went with my first wife. I've gone to the last one with my now current wife. You know what I mean? It's just like it's, and I think I've gone to one with Ed as well. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things that like goes through a whole lifespan practically. So super nervous, but also kind of excited to try something different and fun with this. That's all.
Ron, which one were you at your lightest and which one were you at your heaviest?
Oh, the important questions.
I mean, that's just 96 was the lightest, and now I'm as fat as I've ever been.
Fair enough.
So, you know,
Easy question.
yeah, super easy.
A nice linear progression. Never hurt anybody.
Yeah, no,
It
it's
really
going
is.
great.
It's just an upward flow chart. Well,
I mean,
for my part, I will say I love this franchise. I think this is one of the best executed blockbuster franchises of my lifetime. And that's, including the Nolan Batman, including the MCU. I would put Mission Impossible up next to any of them. I don't know that it is head and shoulders above the best, but it's up there. And I attribute a lot of that to the caliber of filmmakers that they've had behind these movies. Going all the way back to the first one, which is a very different kind of movie than the current crop. You've got Brian De Palma almost reinventing the spy movie with what he did, but still very much making a spy movie. And then go down the list. John Woo, J.J. Abrams, back when he was sort of at the height of his TV powers and he finally made the jump into directing features. Then Brad Bird, in a weird turn, who was, of course, an absolute juggernaut in animation, comes in and starts directing live action and delivers a hell of a movie with Mission Impossible 4. And then Chris McQuarrie starts making these movies. And to me, that's when they really clicked. Chris McQuarrie, of course, is a writer-director. His big breakthrough was The Usual Suspects. He wrote that movie for the director, Bryan Singer. He apparently likes problematic collaborators because now he is just Tom Cruise's go-to guy. And as much as Tom Cruise might be a problematic guy, also just a pure cinematic titan. Like, let's not undersell it. Tom Cruise has sort of distilled what this franchise is into just like pure extract of Hollywood action blockbuster. And for me, it continues to work every time. And I think that, as Billy said, the fact that it's continued to reinvent itself as the franchise has grown is one of the great strengths. And I think we're in an interesting time right now because with Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning coming out, I feel like Tom Cruise might finally be acquiescing to the fact that age is catching up to him. I mean, this is a franchise that has been around for 30 years now. I mean, the entirety of my adult life. And maybe he just feels like there's nothing left to say. So that, to me, puts us into an interesting spot. Like, what do we have to say with a franchise this storied? And just to take it back even further, to give the real 30,000-foot view, this, of course, is based on a 1970s, 1980s TV series that was a really big hit called Mission Impossible, following a character named Jim Phelps, played by John Voight in the Tom Cruise original Mission Impossible. Jim Phelps was an IMF agent who would get little mini tape recordings that would tell him his mission if he chose to accept it, and then would self-destruct in 3 seconds. And it's very much a similar setup to what Ethan Hunt goes through. And it was an interesting choice from the beginning that they sort of picked up as a sequel to the television series. And so I guess, the first question might be, as a franchise that was essentially double serving both kids our age when we first saw the Tom Cruise original and, the boomers who grew up thrilling to the TV adventures, I think that's part of its success. So as we approach our reboot, who are we making this for? Are we looking at the people who've grown up with the Tom Cruise Mission Impossibles and saying, well, we're going to have to service them to some degree? Or are we just going to say, screw it, let's try to get the teenagers' butts in seats and reboot for a whole new generation, kind of what they're doing with Harry Potter right now, you know? What are we thinking with that?
I would posture that while it did serve both generations, I'll give you that, it also leaned more towards younger, because you have to remember, they took, to us, it didn't mean anything. I'm going to guess all four of us did not really watch Mission Impossible, the TV show. So to us, it didn't mean anything. But to have Jim Phelps, who was your main character of this beloved show, turn out to be the villain of your photo, to be a traitor and to be a villain and to be killed off, that was a huge swing. So I'm not going to say that was made to appease fans of the show, because I think if anyone was mad about that, it was the fans of the show. So from where I'm coming from, it's like, I don't think we have to, nor should we be kind of beholden to the Tom Cruise. I think it's okay if one of the things that does kind of irk me about Mission Impossible, not enough to really throw me, but they talk about the IMF and all these, missions and stuff, but it only ever seems like it's Ethan Hunt and four other dudes that are in the 100%. IMF. Like the IMF seems incredibly small. So I'm totally fine that Tom Cruise's thing can live over here and everything that he did is canon and it exists, but I don't think we need to Ethan is gone, so we need to do the new generation. It's just like, and here's another crew, the same way that DS9 or Voyager is just a different crew to the Enterprise. Like, we don't have to stick to the Cruise one.
That's interesting.
Well, I like also the I know we don't try to pitch too early, but I'm also thinking this is the age of the Thunderbolts. This is the age of the underdogs, the other guys, and having some other guys in the Mission Impossible thing with different sorts of skills, different things that we haven't seen before. It isn't just computer guy, kung fu guy, acrobat. It could be like, this guy is the sickest motorcycle trampolinist. We got to figure out how to, not that, but you know what I'm saying? Like something particular where it takes some skill to put these people together. Because honestly, how much skill does it take to find your best friend, the computer guy, and your other best friend, the computer guy, and a spy lady who's awesome, and go do something? It's much different.
So many computer guys in those movies.
You know what I'm saying?
It's a computer guy.
So to me, it's much different. If you look at the original series, and I don't want to filibuster here, but I'm saying in the original series, it was about experts. It was about this conglomeration of experts making this work. Not everybody supporting Ethan Hunt, right? It wasn't just everybody supporting Jim Phelps. It was Jim Phelps coming up with a dope ass plan for the best makeup artist and the best computer guy and the best watchmaker to trick somebody and get some big scheme over. That's what the show originally was. And that's what the original movie was. And then as it got to be all the way up Scientologist man's butt, it became this singular, like, I'm better than James Bond. You look at the trailer now, it's like, Ethan Hunt, you're the best. You are so the best. Even when we capture you, we have to free you to Demolition Man because the world is too wild. You're the only one who can tame it. I think if we move a little bit away from that and do the team aspect Billy's talking about, and maybe even concentrate on some other guys, some DS9, as to borrow your parlance, of that world. You know what I'm saying? Like, it isn't Captain Kirk. It's Cisco over here. You know what I'm saying? Figuring out how to do that 100%. And also getting down with putting together the team of it. The genius of putting together these elements has to be involved in it.
Yeah, well, you said something that... No, go ahead.
Well, I want to posit early, does it even make sense to make this a movie? If we're going to do a reboot, if we're going to be trying to target, your classic 16 to 24, teenage college age audiences, are we going to even get them in theaters with a Mission Impossible? Because short of just Tom Cruise doing the world's greatest stunts, does a spy movie feel like a must-see in theater experience? I don't know. Just something to think about. Ron, I don't want to skip over you though. What were you going to say?
No, I mean, my basic idea kind of goes off of what everybody else was talking about. So my idea was that first off, TV show, perfect. I think this actually even goes with my idea better than I was thinking it would. But also, the idea behind it is we've got a bunch of misfits who are sort of like the people who don't fit in to your normal IMF group. They're part of it, but they don't normally do the big missions. Maybe they're sent on smaller missions, but for each season, they keep being sent on something where they're in over their heads because that's not the level they would normally be doing. And all of a sudden, they've got to make do with what they've got to actually complete the mission because something actually huge is going to happen. And people on the side, the IMF, mission givers are like, well, they were given the mission. They've taken it, so they have to do it. And they have to make do with what they were given. I don't know, something along those lines. I don't know. Where are you guys at?
Mission Impossible Lower Decks.
I mean, it's kind of what I'm thinking. Your underdogs. Not necessarily the janitors, but like instead of stopping nuclear codes, they're going to a small town to stop a hate group. And then it turns out the hate group's a bigger group. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Like, I think that's interesting.
I hear what you're saying, and I don't know, this is a little bit tangential, but the thing it brings to mind for me that's maybe worth talking about is like, what is the actual mandate of the IMF? So it's the Impossible Mission Force, and it's theoretically a branch of like the US government's covert operations, but like, what does it do?
I mean, the old school one was literally toppling small governments who were communists causing trouble for America. Like literally that's what the show was, which like, I don't know if that's exactly what we want to do, but it could be toppling governors. It could be, I mean, like, I don't know, like,
there's
oligarchs,
I get what you're
taking
saying.
oligarchs out.
No, okay, wait, hold on, wait. We got to pause for a second.
Sure.
Every single pitch that we've done so far this season, including an episode that has not aired yet, is IP versus oligarchs. We got to figure out something else. But there's one thing that they always say in Mission Impossible that has given me pause that I wonder if we could actually use to our benefit. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, which I think is a very bizarre, like, well, I don't get to choose what I do and don't do. I wonder if there is like, could we almost make it like this is IMF, like kind of like Law and Order SVU, like IMF something, a special unit that it's like, these are the guys you call in when our normal agents refuse to do this mission. Almost like a Suicide Squad-ish kind of thing, but not Suicide Squad. But I'm just trying to think of like, I think that's also an interesting angle of just like, I don't know, the way they phrase that is very bizarre. Like, what do you do if like Ethan Hunt's like, nah, I'm good, I don't want to do that.
Well, also, what about the actual, fallout of like following a guy who doesn't do a mission, but it's like they don't say, oh, if you choose to accept it, they say if you choose to accept it, obviously you go do the mission. But if you don't choose to accept it, well, maybe we just kill you, or maybe we just decide to relocate you to polar bear land, or you know what I'm saying, like something really bad. We don't know if that's the case, and we also don't know what would happen. Yeah, if you refuse.
What if a group of agents refused a mission because they didn't believe in the mission, and then they kind of, well, here's the thing: every Mission Impossible, save like one or two, Ethan goes rogue. So maybe we shouldn't do the rogue thing. Like literally it's like, oh no, I gotta do it on my own. It's like, do you?
I know. I love Mission Impossible refused missions. I mean, I love the idea of that. That's super interesting. Like, because it could be something that seems silly sometimes, and it could be kind of comical, and sometimes it could be something super serious.
I'm literally just picturing like an episode of Atlanta where it just opens with the guy refusing the mission, and then it's just 30 minutes of him like getting coffee, going to meet a friend. Somewhere in the background there's an explosion, then they have to go take cover, but like he doesn't really care why the explosion happened because he
No.
refused the mission.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that other people refuse the missions, and then they get put to the people who cannot refuse the missions.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. I think that's interesting.
it's
Like,
I think that's interesting, arguably. The one, just because I don't like being logic police, but my brain won't let me help it.
sure.
How does that make any goddamn sense? Like, all right, we got this really highly sensitive thing that we need done, and we're the US government. The first people we're going to go out to are these spies who have the capacity to tell us to fuck off. But then if they do, we're going to send in SEAL Team 6. Like, that's the thing
that's my point. That's my point. It's like, why did they give that option, right? It's like,
I think the idea
ostensibly is the dumbest part of any of those movies, right?
So I actually have two answers to this. Number one, I think the idea is they have a whole roster of agents that they will cycle through, because most of the whole thing about it is like, if you fail, you are disavowed, you are lost, you're going to get tortured, you're going to get killed. We don't care. We're not going to clean it up. So you're on your own all the time, which I feel like is also why him going rogue so much is a little redundant, because the very setup of the concept is like, you don't have support. This is a non-sanctioned mission. But number two, so number one being that they just have a list, and like they have to find somebody who agrees to it, because they're all essentially suicide missions. But number two is like, what if it's almost I don't know if you guys know the comic book series 100 Bullets, where what if they're just giving missions to random fucking people, like Will Smith in Enemy of the State, you know? Like, you're not an agent. You never signed up to work for the government. But what you do, who you are, who your family is, whatever your particular set of skills are, just happen to be exactly perfectly placed for this one thing we need to do. You know what I mean? It just be, yeah, go ahead.
It's like the Black Mirror of spies, in a way, or the, like, because maybe not Black Mirror being the good example, but like it's because each time it's going to be a different person, though. Each episode would be a different group of people, or one or two spies that aren't technically spies. They're regular ass people who happen to be good at, I don't know, working at a donut shop. I'm making that up, obviously. That's not a great example. Except for that donuts are delicious and we should all infiltrate donut shops. I just want to point that out.
And this goes back to what I was saying earlier, the brilliance of the plan. I'm glad you guys like really keyed on that, because it's the person planning the mission with these variables has to be a genius, full stop. Or the mechanism by which this is put together has to be genius, full stop. I love that, guys. Great stuff. And this is very much like but this is very much like Global Frequency as well. We've been tiptoeing all around it, but Global Frequency was a Warren Ellis comic that he did with various artists, and there was this chick named Miranda Zero and her friend Aleph, who was the computer guy, but she was way more than a computer guy. Anyway, she was like Brainiac, but a person. These two picked people who were all on the Global Frequency. Everybody on the Global Frequency had like a phone. And whenever there was an astrological thing, the person who knows about the stars, their phone would light up. And then some astronaut guy's thing would light up. And then a virologist would light up because we found xenobiomass on this rocket that's coming back from this space mission. So we're going to have to get a biologist on this. And they would put together the team to handle a space shuttle from 1968 coming back now through atmosphere with an alien mass on it. And they would pick the people together to deal with that specifically. I just made that up, but they would do shit like that. So like, us doing something like that is sick. The Impossible Mission Force actually being something fresh like that. That's dope as fuck.
What if the IMF is just an app? And like, if you want to be available to do a mission, should you choose to accept it, you literally just download and sign up for the app. And then at any given moment, you could be contacted to do a spy mission. You know what I mean?
Like it's Fiverr.
Well, kind of.
Fiverr for spy shit?
Kind of, yes.
That's ill.
It's like all.
I mean,
any
maybe
one
not
of
to
the-
that level, but like obviously these people they have been vetted by some mercurial process. They are put in these files, and they are put in this Rolodex of people who can, refuse the mission or not. So like the top 10 xenobiologists would be on this Rolodex. But
No,
like
it's the National Reserve, right?
Right.
You just go
Right.
about your everyday life on reserve until
Right.
I mean,
And you
if
don't
that's
know
the
if
case, then I like the idea of it being like an anthology series, so that every episode is a different group, and it's not like I think, and it seems like we're all in agreement. I don't want an Ethan Hunt anymore. I don't want one point person that we follow ad nauseum.
And just not to be too insistent, but like it harkens back to the spirit of the show, which was about experts. They had the same experts because they were a TV show in the 60s. They couldn't afford all these experts that we'll get to have, I suppose. But they had a cast, but they would put together different elements of the cast. They would put them together different ways to do specific missions. And it was about them being put together. And frankly, there was a lot of subterfuge. They were always tricking somebody. It wasn't about overwhelming force, and I have to be better at fighting than you. I got to be better at swimming and holding my breath than you. I got to be better at jumping off a mountain onto a road than you. It was about, like I said, xenobiologist, radiologist, kung fu guy in certain proximity to a problem.
So that's what I said. I see these as more as heist movies than spy movies, because ultimately these are kind of like grifters that are just conning people into, like with masks and all this other sort of shit. So it's like I tend to want to approach it more in the mindset of like, how do you do a heist movie more than I would like, how do we do a big action spy thriller,
Well, which I think works as a TV series or, whatever we want this to be. I also, almost as an aside, just want to throw out, don't limit ourselves to, okay, if it's not going to be a movie, then it's going to be a TV show, because this could be a scripted podcast series. These could be, short films on YouTube. Like, part of me just feels like Mission Impossible, having been sort of one of the biggest movie franchises of the age, means that we should run kind of as far away from that as possible. So I'm not going to advocate one way or another. I just want to throw that out there. But the other thing,
you could do it as a reality game show if that's the thing. Like, have get all these experts together. I'm just saying, synergy, baby. If we're on Warner Discovery, have the IMF reality show on top of it all.
Dude, on some real shit, Zaslav would be so pleased if we were able to come up with like sort of a Mission Impossible the home game that is almost like Impossible Jokesters or whatever, and like some candid camera show, and you get them together to do something that's similar to a mission, and all right, now step to the left, there you got to dodge the security, all right, now run down the hallway, and these people are really doing this thing that's like highly illegal, but we've got them permits or whatever.
I've got an interesting idea.
An interesting spinoff.
I've got an interesting idea that takes from that, but also, do you guys remember, I think it was called Joe Schmo back in the like 2000s, where a guy was on a fake reality show? What if there's a group of people on a show, and it's a reality show, and they are all competing to be the next best spy, next top spy or whatever, and they think they're going to go on like a fun spy vacation afterwards. They're not going to do any real spy stuff, but it's a reality show. But in reality, what's actually going to happen is as soon as they win that contest, or the top 3 win the contest, they're now forced to do a impossible mission, and they have to go to solve some kind of problem. Like, it doesn't, I don't know. It just popped into my head because I thought it might be interesting to do a mix of the thing. A group of people over there who are skilled at different things that would go well with being a spy. Whoever set this reality show up are actually spies. You don't have to do this. This is just something that popped into my head.
No, of course. It's all valuable to hear out. I think it's also interesting. We are living in the age of like The Traders, which is a real blockbuster reality show that's all about like subterfuge and can I convince you of one thing, and we're, you know, and all of the most popular reality shows going back to Survivor are all about secret alliances and who can I get on my side. I don't know if that's the way to go, but I think I like that we're thinking that far outside the box.
But dude, I think we just made dude, we're so dope. We just made a reality show on the side while we were cooking up the burger. We did some fries. That's hot shit. We got to present that to Zaslav on a platter, whether he likes our Mission Impossible. Oh, one last thing I was just going to say real quick. Just I would love to pitch that this is premium television, like unto Severance or something, not to that level of like maybe production value. Yeah, maybe production value. I don't know.
Sure.
But the bottom line is, it's like, envision this, guys, 8 to 10 episodes, I'd say, or 6 to 8, whatever. Each episode has an ensemble all-star cast. I'm talking about fucking George Clooney and Jesus in the first one, freaking Sophia Loren and somebody in the second one. I'm just throwing, just being funny. But the bottom line is, huge stars playing these roles for Aubrey Plaza in one. And at the end, and they're each in anthology episodes, and maybe the cluster at the end is an episode where they get called in on a mission and they're all in the episode. And we could see these stars that we would only have to get for like a few days. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know.
And then we have a conclusive season ender that has each of the characters in it.
Yeah,
and
an hour and a half
in the mission.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking that'd be fresh. Like, just an idea.
I like that.
Just on the tip of an anthology series, I do think if it's going to be an anthology series, having some kind of central core running mystery is important, because it's like that becomes the through line that you're coming back to, even if one episode doesn't hit or one cast doesn't hit for you, which obviously star casting would make up for a lot of that. But that just brings me back to this idea that if everybody, whether, I like an app because you could actually translate that to the real world. So it's like if the people in your fictional show have all just, I believe in the mission, and I don't know what that would be, so I'm in reserve. I don't know if they consider me likely to go. I don't know if they're ever going to use me. I don't know if I'm ever contacted again, but I put my name in and then I live my life. Right?
But think about this. You could have jingoists and crazy people who really are
That's what I'm
ready
saying.
to go. And then you have people who just did it on a lark. Some smart kid who figured out. And I think the app I don't know if it's just readily available at the App Store. I think if you can find the app and you can do the prompts and do the psychological profile or whatever, and you do all that, like this thing asks you a 57-page psychological profile on something you found on the internet, and you do it, then you're logged in because you're already showing.
And that's where we make it real.
Yeah, to yes and that. I'm just thinking, like, I wonder if someone hears about, it's almost like the Matrix, or how what's his name before he's Neo?
Mr. Anderson.
Thomas, yeah. How he's searching for the Matrix but doesn't quite know what he's looking for. I think these people find this app because I think that solves two problems. One is your mission, should you choose to accept it, because they don't know that, like, oh shit, this is what I signed up for. You got I'm a genius at this thing and you got all this information, but this is what you wanted it for. And two, I think it really hits hard the Mission Impossible part of it, because I just don't feel at this point that if you put Ethan Hunt and Benji and what's his face out there, that there's a mission that they can't do. But if it's like one guy who, like you said, is an expert watchmaker, and another guy who's an expert makeup person, and another lady is like the best chef in the world because they have to instill her into a restaurant, and because that's where the bad guys are going to do the deal. It's like, shit, this mission might be impossible because you have 5 disparate people who didn't sign up to be spies. So I like the
salesman.
I love like the best salesman ever who can sell you anything. Like, I love the idea of these people that are chasing this underground hot thing, but they have no idea what they are signing themselves up for.
And that's the central mystery that Bill is talking about.
100%.
Yeah.
And I would even go one step further and say, when you sign up, maybe you're not even sure that this is like, is this the US government? Is this the Israeli government? Is this a government at all? What is the IMF?
You know, it's a government. I think you have no idea what it is. Yeah, I think that's the fun
And that-
part. And then you find out it's for spy shit. Because I'd be like, oh no, never mind. Sorry, that's what I would do.
But you've already done it, and they dabble
Right.
with that in the new Mr. and Mrs. Smith, where they would
Yes.
occasionally have them go on a mission where they didn't know what they were doing. They would go deliver something, and it would happen to be a neutron bomb, and they'd be like, "Damn," and they would have taken that thing on the subway and in cabs with them and stuff because they didn't know what they were doing. Yeah, I'm loving tapping into that, and I'm loving tapping into this jazz about the people in the mission. It is somewhat impossible for them to get it together to do this, and frankly, who cares? It's disavowed. We did it through an app. They can't trace it back to us, General Briscoe. So screw it.
Well,
I love that.
That's something that I think then becomes a runner in every episode. Them, in their quiet downtime as they're planning or waiting to execute the mission, it's like, so what do you think the IMF is? And then there's conversations about like, well, like we're living in an age of constant surveillance. So just the idea of spies working for a spy agency doesn't make sense because you can ID every single one of them. So now they're just pulling random people out of their life, giving them a mission, and then they never even know they're working for a spy agency. Like that's how you do spies nowadays.
It'd be cool. In one of the episodes, if one guy is like convinced that this is just in a very elaborate like RPG,
Oh yeah,
and he ends up getting killed like in front of everybody, and they are shocked because he has convinced them that this is just a game,
And then he dies. Yeah,
That's
so good.
That's good.
That's
So
good. That's good.
I mean, this. Okay, so I don't want to keep harping on this, but if we do have this sort of alternate reality game in the actual real world, people can also. Are you guys aware of like the Cicada 33 myth game thing? Does that ring a bell
Sounds
for
vaguely
anybody?
familiar, but I don't.
So this is actually this was a real thing where on the internet in hacker culture, there was this extended bizarre series of puzzles that came to be known. I believe it was Cicada 33. And it was like you had to know high level math, you had to know coding, you had to have weird outside the box problem solving skills. And like every so often, a new piece of the puzzle would be released, but it was like a weird scavenger hunt to even find where the new piece of the puzzle was. And nobody knew. I think to this day, it is unknown who created this because it didn't actually lead to anything. It wasn't like, the Dark Knight marketing where it's like, the big reveal is that we're showing you the new trailer. It didn't actually go anywhere. And so as people were playing this game over the course of years, there was all this speculation like, oh, this is some sort of a CIA recruitment tool. Oh, this is like a Russian disinformation hoax thing. And there's hackers stealing your information as you're engaging with it. This is aliens and they're trying to test to find, the person who's on the right wavelength to make first contact. Like there were all these crazy conspiracy theories. And to this day, I don't think it's ever been revealed like what it amounted to. So with that as a backstory, if we just sort of create this, like you yourself, should you be good enough, can become part of the IMF. And then whether it's a reality show, whether it's sort of a one-off, just marketing alternate reality game thing.
Whether Zaslav sells your information to
100%.
No, I love that. I love blurring the lines of the show and real life and making it all feel, that's really cool. It's very interactive. I love that. I mean, imagine watching the show and somehow there's a QR code or something, but just imagine watching the show and then your phone goes off with the app and it just feels very immersive,
Yeah. This might be a bridge too far, but you could almost shoot the show in like a mockumentary style where you even blur that line further where, no, it's definitely not real. This is just like, it's like Parks and Recreation, right? But, it's like you just leave that 10% of doubt of like, no.
Well, I would say for me, I would love for it to be, it can be reasonably shot from the point of view of each of the characters, right? I mean, the characters that are drafted for this mission we're cutting between their cameras that they must have attached to themselves as part of the mission or whatever, and we're just getting. I'd love that. I'd love that, and we could split the angles up because somebody's going to be the greatest high wire artist, so he's way up here looking down at stuff, and he's getting these wonky shots of like real life about to die, so we can get a little bit of that daring do. Yeah. About the original Mission Impossible. We can get some of that with this camera style that you guys are suggesting. I'm down with it.
One last thought on just the arc of the season. So if every episode is something very kind of out there, and I think this is cribbed a little bit from that Donald Glover, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, but like if every one episode is like, all right, you have to swap this one guy's watch while he's in this diner for a replica watch, but it's altered in some way. And then the next one, to Ed's point, you have to use a high wire to infiltrate the penthouse of this building so that you can steal this thing out of it and leave it in a mailbox. And then the next episode, so it's like every episode is totally random, but for eagle-eyed viewers or people who are willing to put it together, maybe it's all building to something. You know what I mean? And maybe that becomes that season finale where it's like, oh shit, now we're starting to see recurring faces. People who were in, episode 2 are now meeting up with people from episode 7. And it's like, this is the big thing that's going to turn us into whatever the next season is going to be.
Okay. And is this, if this messes up the reality show part, again, I think we created a separate show. I don't care. I'm just saying, you're on the app. You meet some other people that are on the app, and you're about to do this thing, and you're in the middle of doing some stuff, and then some fucker comes up and starts messing your shit up because they're on another app. They're on like the evil guy app or something, or somebody that was originally supposed to do the mission rejected it, so you get this asshole or just all these things. I'm just throwing it out there. Like,
Yeah,
the SMI app, the Stop Mission Impossible app.
Sure.
But you know what I'm saying? Like these maybe even warring factors inside the IMF or mistakes within the IMF. You've been to jobs as an extra or something. They get too many people. Now there's 15 people trying to do the job of 10. And it's like, hey, wait a minute. I don't know. Or just like, not to complicate it too much, but just a little monkey wrench.
No, but I love that idea of introducing these counter forces, which could even be something like the FBI shows up or the CIA shows up and they render you off to Guantanamo or something. And, it's like, and when I say you, I don't mean in the reality show. I mean in the fictional show.
And then you go to show them your app and the app's gone.
Right. Speaking of, I'm getting a call.
Oh,
it's probably going to be Zaslav.
Oh.
Well. If it isn't Mo, Larry, Curly, and producer Shep.
What?
That's right, boys. I'm back. Somebody sold me out down in the Cayman Islands, so your boy JP is a little low on cash. Don't worry about it. It's all good because I have a brand new bag. A foot deal with my good friend David Zaslav here at Warner Brothers Discovery. And wouldn't you know it? Wouldn't you little sons of bitches know it? I am now the executive producer on Mission Impossible.
Oh, we were so close.
We got away. We'd gotten away.
Well, let me just tell you, as you might expect, I got a lot of ideas. Number one, I told Tom Cruise, Tom, I'll pay you $200 million to keep doing this until you're 6 feet under. Tom Cruise told me he didn't want to work with me. But that's okay. JP's got connects all over town. And the one thing we know Mission Impossible needs, it's a bankable action star. And that's why Mickey Rourke is attached for Mission Impossible.
Oh no! No!
He already looks like he's wearing a face mask.
And not just that, I want sexy ladies. That's where Tom Cruise went wrong. Not enough flesh for the young male audience. So of course I've already gotten my old flame, Barbara Streisand, attached to this picture. I want her full bikini, out on the beach, making love to Mickey Rourke. You do this, and we've got ourselves a franchise. All right, gentlemen, I know I can count on you, stooges. Talk to you later. JP out.
Okay. The
Dude,
fact that he brought up Barbara Streisand is that hot young flesh. That's a real man right there. I gotta say, that's a man. Never lost a fight.
If we know one thing, John Peters can hold a candle. He doesn't let go easily.
Dude, okay, I don't know. Sometimes I think I jump on these too soon and try to put them together in a commercial way, but I'm just thinking celebrity episode, celebrity couple, Mickey Rourke, Barbara Streisand. They're followed by paparazzo. They're doing all this type of stuff, but there's something nefarious going on their yacht. There's something hard to get to. And while they're making love, you got to break in and do a bunch of jazz. And she's like singing jazz scales and he's chopping up coke and they're doing all this fun stuff. And this is high profile casting for premium television. Might have given us just a nice little gift. And looking at that style of celebrity, someone kind of old, somebody kind of washed, somebody kind of old that you wouldn't think would do this role. These are the type of things where we could populate these episodes with stars. And then maybe some young cats could do the missions and stuff, and mix it up as well. Paul Giamatti is one of these guys, as like a geologist. Just spitballing.
I mean,
here.
what's more progressive than two old people banging too? Like,
dude, exactly. Yeah,
like 100%. Like, and I would posit that maybe it's a distraction, that they've caused a distraction because they're boning on the beach. So, like, that would distract people. That would distract me.
just to build on that, it could also be that like maybe Mickey Rourke and Barbara Streisand appear in a couple episodes as targets, and so that becomes part of the mystery that you're teasing out over the course of the season. So it's like in the pilot episode, whoever he would prefer, either Mickey Rourke gets his watch stolen or Barbara Streisand is swindled into investing in some company that's a front for something else. But then, 2-3 episodes down the line, oh, she's back. And now, we're infiltrating her penthouse on the top floor of this building. And it's like, who are these people? And so again, it's just your breadcrumbing for the audience. Like, okay, I got to really pay attention because like, what is the connection here? You know what I mean?
What are these missions adding up to? But also each episode should have its own beginning, middle, and end, and some sort of arc for the people in it, so that like the scared geologist becomes confident, the person who's like kind of overconfident. Like I would love an episode like Warren Ellis did one issue of Global Frequency where like the world's best fighter got to fight this dude who stole his girl, and it was like a 30-page fight. I would love to maybe not do that, but like maybe have like the dopest kickboxer we could get on the Global Frequency right here on this mission just gets housed and has to figure out another way because he can't fight his way out of this. He got picked because he could fight, but he can't do that because he got beat at his own game. So what do you do? What do you do to grow as a person after you get your shit kicked in? You know what I mean?
I love that. I think, Ed, you really seized on something, just this idea that like everybody's individual motive for signing up for the IMF is going to be so different that you're going to have immediate intercharacter conflict in every sort of melange that we put together of characters. Because one guy is, I'm an alpha male, like I just never got shot to prove that like I'm Captain America. And then other people are like, I'm the smartest person in the room. Other people are like, I'm a stoner and I thought it'd be funny. Other people are like, of course I'm a spy. I'm rich and successful. I can do whatever I want. And so it's just those personality clashes become the heart of every episode. Like, can these people actually work together? Are they actually being selected in a way where their friction is part of the mission, like part of succeeding? Again, that's part of just that the weird teases and mysteries that are happening within the course of like a single episode.
But I think not everybody also should be like a heroic good guy like Ethan Hunt.
No.
There should be someone on the team who you kind of want, to fail in a weird way. Or the other thing that would be kind of neat, I keep thinking of like little moments. It's not necessarily like a story, but I think it'd be really cool because they say like, should anyone on your team be caught or captured or killed, you'll be disavowed. Like someone should get captured or caught. They're put in like an insane asylum and no one believes them that this app is a real thing. It's like, no, I was recruited to a secret mission, and they're like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think Ron was talking about when they show them the phone. There's no digital evidence that could.
There's no app, because self-destruct. Yeah. I think like, and that's why I was like, I'm not 100% sure. Just when we were talking like exactly the tone, but then again, you could have one episode of this 8-episode series that's a little more lighthearted than say, almost like the Twilight Zone, right? Where some are a little bit, like mysterious, some are scary, some are a little bit more kind of like nostalgic and sweet. Like we could almost do a couple different ones, And
I think Ron said earlier, talking about calling it a Black Mirror. At the time, it didn't seem exactly right, but yeah, looking at it as they do have multiple takes on a horrific future. They do have multiple takes on the idea in a Black Mirror. So I think that'd be fine as well. Yeah.
I think also you're seeing even in things like The Bear, which isn't an anthology series, but they really embrace that idea that every episode can have its own rhythm and its own tone. Like it can really ping pong from like, I'm doing a weird laconic tone poem to like, this episode is the most intense, like hard drama flashback you've ever seen. This episode is all process driven. This episode, we're going to be over in Amsterdam as a dude is learning how to cook bread and we learn his tragic backstory about where he comes from. So that idea of like, you can't really tonally pin us down, to me, that feels that's in the plus column, not in the negative column. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, honestly, short of like putting together what the actual like mystery spy mission of it all is, I feel like we can go either two ways right now. I love the idea that we continue to pitch interesting moments like Billy's talking about, because I think that this is rife with that, just character types, like things that could go wrong, things that could go right. Or we could talk about showrunners, writers, or even some of the talent that we might want to go after to put in this thing. And I don't necessarily want to steer us one road or the other, but just as a way to sort of shape us.
I just want to know, and maybe I'm not clear, like, especially with Mickey Rourke, Barbara Streisand of it all, like, if that's the every little mission somehow revolves around them, I really like that. Especially if we don't figure out until 3 or 4 episodes in that they're actually together, they're connected, because someone, like you said, someone on a mission that was to get something for her or is revolving around her, something revolving around him for 2 episodes, and then we realize they're together. It seems like to me somehow, I don't know, maybe I'm just going to throw out shit. I don't even like it, but just to get things moving. Maybe he's an arms dealer and this is all just trying to stop him before they get something together. Or maybe they're traffickers, or I don't know.
What if they are? What if they're spies? What if we, as we put this together, we sort of realize that like these two people are both spies. They might even be double, triple agents who are sort of working each other. And like all of our weird missions that we've been following are essentially somebody, whoever's behind this IMF, is like trying to throw monkey wrenches into whatever these two spies are trying to accomplish vis-a-vis the other person. So it's almost like we've been following this weird faceless third spy in sort of a, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy type of dance. So it's like Mickey Rourke is theoretically a CIA agent, but he's actually working for the Russians. And Barbara Streisand is like theoretically an Israeli asset, but she's actually working for some other group. And like, I don't know what that amounts to, but just that idea that like in the end, whoever we're recruiting are getting wrapped up in something like way bigger than they think they signed up for. I just like that idea.
Yeah, no, I mean to yes and that. Like I said, I don't know. I like keeping the celebrity couple sort of simple and keeping the missions kind of oblique until we put them together at the end. That's kind of my leaning, but I don't really care to fight over it. I do like though this jazz about pitching like certain character moments, like there's a smart person, kung fu person, and a science person put on a mission, and the killer like kung fu person is supposed to be the one that handles this part of it, supposed to do the dirty work, but they get totally killed. And so the smart person ends up having to literally kill somebody at the end of the episode, thus changing their whole profile. And then there's the opportunity to like delete the app or get out of it, and they don't, because they've fundamentally changed into somebody who's open to this sort of wet work after just being the smart guy. Think like stuff like that. Character.
I mean,
stuff.
that's
like
that's the exact type of character that you would want to show back up in that season finale where we're cross-breeding. Yeah, go ahead.
And if that person is Juliana Margulies or some fucking body, you're telling me people don't want to show up for that?
Right.
Yeah.
DJ Qualls. Guys, we gotta put DJ Qualls in this episode.
Well, and let me tell you what DJ Qualls is
DJ
doing.
Qualls?
He's the watchmaker that replaces Mickey Rourke's watch. The purpose of it is we give Mickey Rourke a little nugget to work with, something that he would love, like the watch is his dad's watch, and he had it up his ass in Vietnam. No, not. but if for real, we give him like some kind of tidbit to work with that Mickey Rourke would love to chew on. You know what I mean? And then that attracts him to keep him on as well. So
yeah.
Could we do so? I'm sorry. I was gonna say maybe a nod back to the very first movie. Maybe this whole mission, and we find out at the very end, the last episode, kind of like how the very opening mission of the first Mission Impossible movie it's all a setup. Like everything is just to figure out who the mole is. Maybe all of this is just to put together. Maybe this is like a season-long screening process to put together like a new team to go on to the next season. Because like, how pissed would they be if after all this they saw people die and be shipped away and everything, and then you find out maybe it's like Mickey Rourke is actually the one, just like, oh, I've been sending you on all these missions to come get me because I just wanted to see if you guys could, You know
what's kind of interesting about that?
Yeah,
you could then bifurcate the franchise and have that cast go on to make movies and then continue the anthology series in a totally separate direction.
That's pretty fresh. I like that, to borrow an Ed Greerism. That's pretty fresh.
I'm
Johnson.
so glad I didn't step on that. That is brilliant. I love that. No, I love that. I also think though, one thing about this watch jazz, I just came up with a gag, take it or leave it, but just like somebody has to replace his watch in like episode 1, and me, I like things short, so maybe even in the same episode, but let's say it's an arc for the whole season. At the end, he's got that watch on and he's about to do something nefarious or whatever, and somebody's been given a trigger and they go, okay, now, and they do it, and the watch like blows off homeboy's hand or chops it off for them to grab up his hand to use on a scanner later or something. You know what I mean? Something like, it's like it was that far set in motion. You know what I'm saying? The plan was that intricate that like, okay, now we got that watch on his wrist. We know it's going to be on there. We've got it authenticated. He's going to be wearing it at this moment. We know it. Boom. You know what I'm saying? Like little stuff like that all throughout. All these different things. Deliver a cake here. It poisons a guy. Do this. It chops
and
off
at the right time too. Like the reason it has to chop off his hand is at that moment is he's near the scanner and it still has to be warm. So you pick it up immediately and put it on. You know what I mean? Like all
but
these
also
things.
too, like, if you did that to like you could also make a joke of that too. Not necessarily the watch, but I can't think of a better thing. It's like, you set up this a whole mission is to like replace this guy's watch. I'm just using watch as an example. And then at the very end, Mickey Rourke, they're like, well, wait, why? What was the whole mission about the watch? He's like, I wanted a new watch. I
just as far as the whole idea of like the season sort of being a recruiting mission, it's not one or the other. Either it's a recruiting mission or it's a real mission. Like it could also be we're really doing some nefarious thing that needs to happen. But also, here I'm Mickey Rourke. You thought I was a civilian. You thought I was a target. Obviously, I wouldn't have had my hand blown off, but maybe here it's me, Streisand, because I'm the person you would definitely least expect out of the two of them.
Peters would love that.
Well, 100%. But like you thought I was just a cog in this machine, but I was running this operation, and you, for whatever, proved yourself. So now I'm going to be your man in the chair. Let's go off and make movies. Like, it doesn't all have to be a put on, because she's still operation.
But I also, why I like that too, is because whoever is left is going to have a chip on their shoulder, because that's such a shitty way to get into this. And I like that kind of like, I don't trust you dynamic is built into the relationship before you go on to these bigger missions, maybe in the movies, like nuclear bombs and like earth ending stuff,
And Mickey Rourke almost likes that. Like the character Mickey Rourke's playing almost likes that. Like, yeah, you're not supposed to trust me. I need you to be independent. That's what I'm setting up here.
For sure.
And that makes
that's pretty
so
good.
then there's games within games. I don't know.
Well, and it's sorry, Ed, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, and the fallout of your regular life after doing these missions. If we can show a little bit of the drama
definitely.
of your regular life falling out because you've been exposed to this.
Yes. I like the idea even that if we are going to recruit, our top 3 or 4 people to go do a movie style mission, that movie style mission is maybe just one movie's mission. And after that, you still go back to your regular life. So within the course of the movie, like, you're wrestling with the fact of like, do I want to be a spy? Do I like the person I've become? But then at the end, true to form for spies, it's like, great, you survived. We got it done. See you later. Whether it's Mickey Rourke or Barbara Streisand, just being like, well, good time.
But that was like, I was going to say, that was one aspect of Mission Impossible 3 that I really feel like they started to go down and then kind of chickened out and went back. But I love the idea of spending some time with, like, how do you live a normal life after you've done some of the things that they've done? I think that's
and even more, can you imagine going back to your normal husband after you have literally done the most dangerous thing on the planet and be like happy in that relationship? We just made another television show after that.
No, you want to be with Barbara Streisand after you do something like wild like that.
Well, dude, but I was also really thinking that there are certain people, or maybe if we could talk about this from the machinations of the show at large, that maybe part of it is to kind of erode these people's lives so they don't have anything to go back to. Like, part of the mission and the selection process and this whole mission structure and the different sociological and psychological things they're doing to the different people and putting them in these different places. It's almost meant to drive them, that once they've shown some aptitude, to kind of drive them away from real life. Because I always thought that was silly as hell, dude. You got to always be on call to save the world, but I got 2 tiny tots and we go to the mall and sit them on Santa's. Like, get the fuck out of here. Barbecues and ball games and saving the world. That's nuts. That's nuts. If you're really on call like that, it changes your whole thing.
Look, I try not to argue very much, but I actually like that. I like the idea. I think it's more interesting to have the drama of trying to have a regular life while you do spy shit. To me,
I agree with that, and I know that you will eventually fail, because all of these top intelligence people have show marriages that they trot out at the congressman hearings and shit, but they're doing all types of stuff by themselves because they've seen men die and they've killed women and children, and this concept that they're just going to go sit around, I don't buy it. I think you can try, and I love the drama of trying, but I think there's a lot of people who are going to fail that, is all I'm saying.
Okay. Okay.
Let me just remind us, we are living in a world where these people are not being recruited into the Avengers. So it's sort of their own volition. Well, shoot, I just saved the world. Do I tell my spouse? Do I tell the girl I start dating in 3 weeks? And I may or may not ever go on another mission. Should I share this? Should I not? Should I keep it a secret from my family that I just had to seduce this, Saudi billionaire and I cheated on my husband with them, but like we intercepted a stray nuke and now I'm just going back to my life? like, should I even tell my husband about that? Because again, in the concept of what this IMF is, you're not just a soldier in reserve. You're literally just a human being who's been plucked out of your everyday existence and then thrown back to be like, well, see you later.
See, I like the character who can't, like, you know, maybe there's people who have a hard time. They're just like, I want to forget that ever happened to me. But I like the guy or girl, whoever, who's like, it's almost like Jack trying to get back to the island on Lost. Like they are trying, the app doesn't work. They can't download it. They can't find it. No one knows. They're like, I have to get back to this because that's the only time in my life I did anything that mattered. And now I just work at a grocery store again. Like,
and imagine ruining,
cruel, you know?
Imagine ruining your marriage for that. Like you went on one dope mission and you were dancing and that was part of the thing, but you really, you know, you were doing all that cheek to cheek true lies shit. And now you got to go back to being a fat fucker grading papers. And you're just like, oh, now your wife isn't good enough. Now your stuff isn't good enough. And you ruin your life. Like, I think an episode about ennui is fucking great.
You could start building those. Like, what if those people found each other? These people who went on one mission and then were unceremoniously dumped out back into their lives. They were used, and it's like they took away everything from me. So, and then they get together, and that can be your syndicate or your anti-IMF. We're gonna take this shit down, you know?
I mean, that's definitely, you pick your all-star recurring cast that you want from season 1, and that's their arc in season 2. 100%.
Yeah.
Because just to jump on something I think Billy said earlier, but this idea that like somebody comes back from saving the world and now wants to be Captain America, and so you do share everything with your husband or your wife, and it's like, they might call me again. Like, I did all this. Can you believe this? Like, they're going to call me again because I know they can use me. And then a month goes by, and then 2 months go by. And then your family starts being resentful of like, stop living in this fantasy land. Like, what the F is wrong with you? That's the tragic part. And that's sort of the twist that you would never see in Ethan Hunt's home life, because Ethan Hunt essentially is an Avenger. But that idea that like, which I think is also kind of a poignant commentary on sort of how we treat veterans in a lot of ways.
I mean, no, I love that aspect of it, but dig this. Okay, it just came to me. Guy, that whole thing happens. Months go by after the fresh mission. We show him in a fresh mission. We try to do it pretty quickly. He has a fresh mission. Then we have a whole middle part of the movie, or rather the episode, where he's having a lot of ennui. He's being shitty to his wife and his daughter, and he's living in this fantasy land, constantly checking his phone and blah blah blah. And then he gets a notification, and it's just like that one. And he clicks on it instantly. And he goes and he gets on some mission. And he gets out in the middle of nowhere. And dudes grab him up and torture the fucking shit out of him because they know that he was on one of those missions. They deduced the jazz. They want to know what's going on. They want to know what he knows. He doesn't know anything because he's not a fucking spy. But you're living the dream, aren't you, pal? You're living the dream, aren't you, pal? Getting your nuts hit like James Bond, getting your toenails ripped out. That's what you wanted, bitch. That's what you wanted. And then that way, it's very much Black Mirror or Twilight Zone.
Yeah, I love
something
that.
like that. That's the money, baby. We could do films with these episodes. Is what I'm saying.
I mean, I love the idea. I mean, you could kind of do all of this, right? Depending on how many setup episodes, or if you do it in the course of one episode, because I hear what you're saying with that, Ed. I continue to think of it as like, all right, season 1 is just the disconnected mini missions, and you as the viewer are trying to put together what we're doing. And then season 2, we start revisiting some of the people from season 1, and now it's all the aftermath. So yeah, one of them is like, I want to do this. I get intercepted and tortured. Another person's like, I'm getting paranoid, but I need to just settle back into my life. One day, bullet to the head from somebody who's pissed about what they did in season 1. And it's like, who just shot them? Well, we don't know, but their face ended up on camera, and like they were just living their life, but somebody tracked them down. You know, all of those weird sort of unintended repercussions. I think, again, you get a lot of mileage out of that.
And those people, like you said,
and check this out. So finally, I have an idea that's useful.
Oh, no.
So each time somebody dies, we see a cover news story that makes it look like they did drugs and got killed in a like a drug deal gone wrong, or like they're avowed, they're pushed off, they don't get any glory, they get nothing. So you really see what happens when you fail on an IMF mission.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not only
because
a
you
death,
get nothing.
It's not only a death, it's an ignominious death. Like they
The-
end
the
up
guy-
in
the
order to
kid-
cover up your death, they have to put you in some weird position with your pants down or you're all messed up. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
Yeah,
it's awful when you
and and you've been bragging to your wife the whole time, and your 15-year-old daughter, who kind of thought you were a fucking dork, and like they started loving you and liking you again, and then nope, the truth comes out, you were just a meth head. Boom.
Well, yeah, I mean, the whole idea of like you will be disavowed is essentially like if you get caught, you're essentially just going to look like a spree shooter, right? Like if you get caught in a building with a gun, nobody is going to have any way to trace that back to a government mission. Like you just look like a psycho who was holed up with a gun on the top floor of a building. So that is the part of you and your team will be disavowed that we never get to see happen in a Mission Impossible, but I think is like heartbreaking and like very, very real, you know?
Yeah, I think that'd be fun.
Yeah, that's great.
And I think every breakfast, I think part of each episode should be, to me, some sort of, just to give it any sort of uniformity, there is some sort of Breakfast Club moment where the kids are coming in and they're finding their seats and they're going to get the briefing. They decoded something and they got to this location. They get their briefing, then the briefing explodes or whatever to keep the tradition. And after that, it's like, it's about like figuring out how they're going to do it, or like following whatever rough plan there is, and then figuring out with their own expertise how they're going to do the mission. And all those moments of like character building and the people you click with, the people you don't. You know, that you got a sniper here and he's an asshole, or maybe the sniper's the coolest guy, but the person who's supposed to do the major part of it is reticent and untalkative. And it's like, how are we going to do this, dude? Like, you're not communicating to me. You know, all these different, like you guys said earlier, the character dynamics are really great.
Yeah, it's the first act of Ronin, where like all those guys show up in that warehouse, and it's like, who are you? Who are you? Why are we here? What are we doing together? Yeah, that stuff I think is gold, and that's the structure, right? Like that's the recurring element that you get in every episode that gives you something as a viewer to hook into. Like, okay, they get their message, should they choose to accept it. Some people accept, and then they show up at a location, and it's like, well, I guess now we're figuring out what we're doing.
I do say though that we do have like one or two of the episodes of the second season where the consequences don't reach a couple people, and we see them having regular lives and sort of like, because I think that it ups the drama. And so we see a bunch of terrible things happening to people, but then we have a few episodes where it looks like something terrible is going to happen. And then the relief is that something doesn't happen to this one or two characters. And maybe one of them are people you hated.
It could even be that like we see somebody just sort of going about their life, and then the mission for a new team is like to keep that person safe. Or like you don't even realize it till the end of an episode, but it's like the mission for the team was actually to stop an assassination attempt on this person from season 1 or this person from 3 episodes ago. Like that sort of thing would be great.
Awesome.
I think maybe just thinking back to the Mickey Rourke, like shooting off them to a big screen adventure and keeping the others on TV. Like I almost wonder if Mickey Rourke is like a top recruiter or something, but we never really find out. Like, I think it's kind of interesting if we never really find out who is running the app or IMF, like who the top things in charge. I don't know if we ever resolve that, but I just like the idea of like these people rushing out to the whims of a no-named app. But shit, it probably is AI at that point, but it's just like, I don't know if
That's
we
how it
ever
ties into the
resolve it.
Tom Cruise series, because it's
Right,
all
yeah,
whatever
maybe
that.
it's all.
Yeah, no, I
That-
mean
that-
seriously, there's a group of like these vile automatons being sent to do bad stuff by AI robots. Meanwhile, this human guy is like playing around, blah blah, and then these play around agents that are doing basically practical Joker's missions have to beat this Wetworks group that are made by AI. I
No,
think
this
that's
is
the ultimate.
this is Chat GPT's revenge on us for asking it to write all these cover letters for us.
I feel like you almost start, like the produced open for every episode is sort of just the sales pitch from IMF, whomever they or it may be. So it's like it would just be, like the world is broken. There's chaos. The wrong people have too much power and the right people have none. Be a part of the solution. Join IMF. And like that's it, right? So within that, you get some real jingoistic assholes. You probably get some like nationalist supremacist types. You get some bleeding hearts. Like they don't even know who the coalition is that they're joining up with. To me, that's interesting. That's interesting too.
Dude, a straight up race warrior ass like white dude, but he's like the best knife maker in the continental United States.
Sure.
But he's total racist. He has to work with 3 Ving Rhameses on this mission. And it's like, oh no, I got a Siamese lady over here. I got Ving Rhames, and I got such person, and he's just so mad. And it's not like at the end he learns anything or no bullshit like that. But at the end, it's like he has to rely on these people. They have to rely on him. They have to get it done. There's no time for all that bullshit, even though there is going to be time for dramatic purposes for that bullshit. In the end, there won't be time for it. And maybe there's a lesson in that. Maybe sometimes we have to go across coalition lines to get some shit done instead of fighting with each other while the world burns.
That episode is called America.
Well, yeah, I mean, like his life could be saved by one of the Ving Rhameses, and then it's like the last scene of that episode is him walking into his motorcycle club meeting with all the Confederate flags and swastikas on everybody's bikes, and he's just like, shit, do I want to go in here? And then you just leave it on that. It's like just that little seed of doubt has been planted.
And that was AI doing it. Okay.
I mean, I feel like a part of me says we could sit and do this all day, but I feel like we've got a pitch here. I think
we got the idea across.
I think the question we should answer now is like, who are we staffing this thing with? Like, who is a showrunner? Who is a writer? I mean, I feel like there's a surefit of people who could add a lot of flavor to this writer's room, just because we're sort of pulling from all the hottest trends in prestige TV right now. So it's like between, Ben Stiller's buddy who created Severance, for the guy who created Black Mirror, the guy who wrote, the name is escaped. Oh, I mean, even something like Andor, who are we liking though? Anybody come to mind amongst the many possible opportunities?
What about
weird? Oh, go ahead, Ron.
What is that guy's name? Nick. He did True Detective. Nick. I can't remember.
Pizzolatto. Yeah, Nick Pizzolatto. That's interesting. I mean, he certainly has a pedigree in anthology as well, because True Detective is a brand new story, brand new characters every season.
True Spy. I mean, that's not bad, Ron.
Someone who I think has a varied filmography, but also a lot of stuff like in this same genre, Drew Goddard. He did a lot of Alias, Daredevil, but also he did Bad Times at the El Royale, Cloverfield. Like, he's kind of all over the map, but all over the map in the same way that our show is. I feel like that could be a really good fit.
That would be tasty.
And that stuff we were talking about the different, like having, I don't know if we were dabbling in reality show at the time. I don't know if the whole thing has to be shot that way, but there definitely should be an episode or even a couple that are shot like the Doug Liman style, or Paul Greengrass / Cloverfield / Chronicle style. a
found
couple episodes in that
footage or-
style. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like found footage or like our spy body cams doing stuff or
Right.
like CCTV, spy body cams, everything on natural, no actual cameras, no movie set guys, no dollies, you know. Yeah, I would love that. And I think he could, man, that's pretty good. Drew Goddard, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
It's definitely the right combination of like knows how to run a high level TV show, but also will bring like a cinematic flair and also has the mind for the kind of, you know, multi-level spy game stuff that we're talking about.
That's awesome. I have another weird one, and that's actually Aubrey Plaza as I know that's weird, but
As a writer?
well, more like a director, showrunner type of person involved in 1 or 2 episodes. Just an idea.
Well,
No, I
I
mean-
think we should have her be part of the cast and be she'd be an executive producer if she was part of the cast. So I mean,
That's
she'd
probably
definitely
true.
have a lot of info about, you know, tone and shit. Because I do believe like what's that, Bill? The movie where she's Emily's a criminal, Emily the criminal.
Emily the Criminal. Oh,
Dude,
she's
Emily the
fantastic.
criminal. If you've it's about this lady who gets to money trouble. She does stuff you would never would have thought she would do for money, and she discovers that she's like a super hustler through the course of the movie. She discovers through this jam she got herself in with negligence, she discovers the fact that she's a super hustler. That movie itself is a microcosm of this show. The transformation that she has to make due to the jam that she got herself in is this show. So Ron, again, you're dinging it. She would get this a lot. She did it in long form. You know,
I mean, sir, as an actress, she is the exact type of person that I would want to cast in this. Just that it's that perfect melange of like, she has enough notoriety that it feels like a get. She has enough experience on TV that she would know what she's doing. And she's weird and quirky enough that she would fit right into the kind of show that we're making. That's a very good call there.
Cool.
On the tip of Drew Goddard, I feel like these guys have worked together, or maybe I'm making that up in my head, but Stephen DeKnight, who was the original showrunner on Netflix's Daredevil for season, I think seasons 1, 2, and 3. I think he was there, but I might be wrong on 3. Is another guy who I think could just handle the combination of like the tone and the layers of storytelling. I don't know why I'm associating him with Drew Goddard. I do believe they've worked together before.
I think Drew
Goddard was on Daredevil.
Daredevil, yeah.
Okay. All right. Then that's what I'm thinking of. I mean,
Nice.
the other one that
it was the first season of Netflix. I mean, first season of Netflix, first season of Daredevil. And he also did Jupiter's Legacy, which that's a demerit.
Well,
I'm sorry. That's
let me move on to my next suggestion then. who frankly also has some demerits, but Damon Lindelof in Watchmen mode could be a really interesting choice for this. And I worry that he still has that J.J. Abrams mystery box. Like,
Yes.
I'm not even going to try to make sense of this mystery, which I wouldn't want. However, he was able to get over that hump with Watchmen. So I just wonder if he could do it for us.
It's funny because I referenced Lost in this episode, and tonally, I'm seeing this very similar to Lost, where Lost does have those kind of, you know, a lot of the mysteries, a lot of the kind of horror-esque, but it also has those lighter episodes like with Hurley or whatnot. So I agree, but also like Damon Lindelof, in my opinion, even more than J.J. Abrams. I think J.J. Abrams gets a lot of the rap for Damon Lindelof, like knows how to start something, but doesn't know how to get out of it. He did it with Prometheus.
Yeah.
So I feel like you pair Damon Lindelof with Drew Goddard or someone else, and if he's part of a team, I would absolutely draft him to my team. I don't know if I'd let him do the whole thing himself, though.
Fair. Yeah, very fair.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, teams. I mean, it's just funny, those teams though. Like who are any, like I would feel better spreading this across a couple people who, like, you know, who have worked together and get get this sort of stuff. I don't know, like if Chris Carter worked for somebody on the X-Files and it was a show from less than 30 years ago, that, you know what I'm saying, somebody who had, like a team that had done something cool like that, or like even people who do like thinking outside the box. I think we're going to be staffing from all sorts of shows. I think we should loot some of the better Apple shows and the better HBO shows for staffing stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, one that comes to mind is, and I think he's had something to do with Black Mirror, but the original showrunner for the BBC's Sherlock, who I know was on Doctor Who for a long time, I believe it's Stephen Moffat. That's a guy whose sensibilities I think would jive with this really well also.
I got another maybe weird one, but not that weird. Jane Espenson.
Remind me what her credits are.
Well, she's done a lot. She was on True Blood. She of course did Buffy. Veronica Mars.
Okay.
Interview with the Vampire, the TV show. What We Do in the Shadows. She's done like a lot of stuff, and she also has worked with Drew Goddard as well, and I mean, that's won a lot of awards.
And she worked on Battlestar Galactica too. So like, yeah, I mean, all that sort of stuff. Like I'm saying, we should have. I also think her being a person who has a lot of experience, we need to do that too, because these are little character plays as well about people. And I think a lot of people who are just used to whiz banging and stuff. And then of course there's going to be some episodes that are just wall to wall action, but like the wall to wall action because somebody keeps fucking up. And they keep having to do something else and something else. And they keep having to meet somebody else, stuff like that.
Can I throw out a pitch that let me just sell you on it before you say no? Okay.
Love those pitches. Go.
Before you say no, I think, look, before Get Out, did any of us think that one half of Key and Peele would be this amazing kind of director of this very kind of highbrow stuff? So I have someone that he is. The attention to detail is almost his calling card, but also finding a human story in every single thing he does is also his calling card. It's Nathan Fielder. If you watch The Rehearsal,
oh shit! Wait, you don't have to sell me, dude. You do not have to sell me.
Nathan Fielder's great.
I think this is his kind of like move into something not quite comedy, but still like doing the Fielder-esque stuff, you know?
Well, I think more to the point from The Rehearsal. I mean, The Rehearsal's great. Everybody should be watching The Rehearsal. But did you watch The Curse, the show he did with Benny Safdie?
Absolutely, with the Safdie. My favorite show of 2023 by a long shot. I just think that this could totally work in his favor, only because he's so good with intricate details, but also like super intricate interpersonal relationships.
Okay, I gotta yes and that. That because of the fact that, again, we gotta be a genius to put together these teams, and for the teams to do a mission, that each one of those missions has to come together to form a larger mission. All of that is a lot of strings, a lot of red across the corkboard, and I think that dude is just nutty enough to get that part done. That's a stroke of genius. I'm not a fan of The Rehearsal. I think it's wildly indulgent and ridiculous. But if I'm going to pick somebody, to marshal my more or less $180 million high dollar ass Apple Plus ass Mission Impossible show or Amazon Mission Impossible show, yeah, I want somebody with that level of detail.
If you do watch The Rehearsal, you know how huge of a fan Paramount is of Nathan Fielder, especially right now. So I think they would absolutely love that choice. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look up Nathan Fielder Paramount, because it is.
But you know, what's the name? It is on Max though. This is going to Max. Zaslav's doing it. It's going to Max. We're gonna figure out a way.
We decided it was Paramount Max Plus. Isn't it?
Yeah. It's after the merger. You know,
they're gonna merge at some point. Yeah.
If you put Nathan Fielder maybe with one other of these creatives we've talked about, just look, Mission Impossible, just like the conceit of the show. I think that's the conceit of the creative team too. I think you take different geniuses and put them together to make this show.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, you
Yeah.
know what? It could be like this. All if we're thinking synergistically, and we got Paramount, we got Max, we got to get it together. I think some weird consortium of like the Jesse Armstrongs of the world, the Drew Goddards of the world, the fucking Nathan Fielder. These people form like a little brain trust. Maybe 3 of them form a brain trust, and then some of them direct episodes directly and take over, whole thing, write in direct episodes. Some of them just sort of like are part of the brain trust, and that gives us this hive mind of, frankly, prestige television to draw from. And also, we're gonna have Scientologists up the ass still. Somehow they're gonna worm their way in here.
I mean, if we're going down this road, I would just have to throw Vince Gilligan into the brain trust because he's looking for his post Better Call Saul project. He is a certified genius. He comes from X-Files pedigree. He was working under Chris Carter back in the X-Files days. One of the greatest minds in prestige TV, and he's just been in the Breaking Bad universe for so long that we don't immediately call him to mind. This puts him back on the map.
I got one last person for the brain trust, and I think it's very important. Donald Glover. He's got experience from Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and you mentioned Atlanta as far as the wonky tone jazz. Yeah, I think Donald and probably Steven Glover.
Donald and Steven, for sure,
are in the shit in the thing.
And hopefully they can bring Ludwig Göransson along to score this bitch.
Oh, dude! Oh man, dude! I'm telling you, they'll fuck around and get some shit together to get Coogler to direct one of the episodes. He's already expressed interest in X-Files or shit like that. Just coming in to do a one-off job, be like, yeah, you know, Shannon, just show up for 3 days, do this episode. You know, I would love that.
It makes sense though, because if we're taking Mission Impossible and we are looking beyond the scope of a new movie, a new show, and being like, how do we make this something we can get on every platform? It makes sense to me, like a Marvel Cinematic Universe, like Star Trek or something, that maybe Nathan Fielder and Drew Goddard are working on the show while the Glover brothers are working on the screenplay for the spinoff of the show. And they all have to be like, we basically invented a cinematic universe, you know, all to ourselves. Actually, I think Nathan Fielder would probably love to be involved with a reality show spinoff we do, because that's like totally his jam, you know?
Yeah. We involved this 300-pound man in a mission where he had to run a lot like his hero Tom Cruise.
I love that Mission Impossible. Mission Impossible could be the new MCU of like, you want to come cut your teeth and make a name for yourself? This is where you need to be. You know,
I mean, it's like the MCU but weird, which I kind of freaking love. Guys, I'm just gonna go ahead and call it. We have achieved reboot. Get me John Peters on the line, baby. We have turned Mission Impossible, which is a brand name with the highest prestige, into a brand new product befitting its status. This is the Mission Impossible Cinematic Universe. And within it, we have our first TV show, an anthology wherein we're bringing high-level talent to act in one-off episodes, undergirded, of course, by Mickey Rourke and Barbara Streisand in recurring roles. Can't forget that.
Boning on a beach.
Of course, they're going to be making love on a boat, on a beach, everywhere. They're making love everywhere. But on top of that, we're also going to be seeing a world in which an IMF app, an Impossible Mission Force app, has drawn volunteers from all over the world who have solved complex puzzles to put their name in the hat to take on an impossible mission. At the beginning of every episode, a group of these people will be contacted with those famous words, your mission, if you choose to accept it. And they will then be informed if anything goes wrong, they are disavowed. We will watch as they come together from different walks of life, with different motivations, with wildly different skill sets, to pull off very specific, sometimes very small jobs. And it's everything, like we said, from, you know, replacing a guy's watch without him noticing, to stealing something from a penthouse, to maybe even a car chase, maybe even killing somebody. And within that, all of these average people who have volunteered to step out of their everyday lives for the good of this greater cause are going to be challenged with these weird moral conundrums. Will they do this? Can they do that? Will they work with the people that they've been drafted alongside? And then most importantly, can they go back to their everyday lives? At the end of the first season, we're going to have kind of our all-stars from throughout the anthology episodes come together for the last big mission, where it will be revealed that either Mickey Rourke or Barbara Streisand is actually the recruiter pulling the strings behind all these missions. We won't find out exactly what the IMF is, but we will find out that a new field team has been recruited for a movie spinoff. From there, those people can then either carry multiple movies, or possibly, and we go back to season 2 of the anthology, where now we start to pick up the threads of what happens after the missions. What happens after you refuse a mission? What happens after a mission goes well and you come back to your old life and you feel like you can't tell anybody? What if you want to tell everybody? It's a broad-reaching exploration of life after being a spy, life in the meat grinder of international spycraft. And along the way, we will be dropping hints about what the IMF is, what these missions are leading up to, but ultimately, some of our most disaffected IMF members are going to get together to try to bring the organization down for the way it screwed them up. And that could carry us who knows how long. And get this, on top of it all, we've also created an alternate reality game where real people can sign up for a real IMF, which can bring them onto a reality show. And maybe, just maybe, the finale of the reality show sees them unwittingly taking part in the finale of the scripted show. Because once they've won the competition, they do a final mission that's actually scripted into the anthology. Guys, we're talking high-level stuff here. We know Zaslav is going to love this. This is one hell of a pitch, and all I got to ask is, any last thoughts for the cherry on top?
Is Peter's going to love it, because I guess we're working for him on this particular one.
Well, here goes. I'm calling old JP himself, and we'll see if he likes it.
Boys, boys, boys. I was listening to that pitch. You didn't have to call me. All of your rooms are mic'd, and I've hacked into your streaming account. But you know how I was able to hack into your streaming account? It's because, dun dun dun, it was actually me the whole time, David Zaslav.
Ah, you old dog.
I love masks too. If we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it right with the masks.
You know,
He's
for
on-
once, I can't argue with you. I love
Perfect.
the mask too, Mr. Zaslav.
Well played.
Well, let me be the first one to say, I'll consider your pitch.
Hey,
You
that's
know?
new for us.
Fine. Well, for you at home, thank you for following along. Hopefully you love the pitch as well. We are the Reboot Crew. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit the bell. We're seeing that this is not being shared amongst our subscribers, so you have to hit the bell. The
what
analytics
the-
tell us you're not hitting the bell.
Hit the bell!
Hit
And,
it and quit
and-
it, baby.
And hit that like button so that we can get seen by more people. That'd be really cool. So the number of people who watch it, the number of likes is just a little off. So if you could even that out a little bit, that'd be great, guys. Thank you very much.
But the season is rolling. Rebooted. We are deep into the thick of things and having a ball. Hopefully you get out and see Mission Impossible Final Reckoning just so you can think about how much better our pitch is than anything they've ever done.
We don't have enough
the-
running. We don't have enough running.
Now, our fatal flaw. Ron, keep it up. I am producer Bill for Billy Business, Ron Swallow, and Greer. This is the Reboot Crew, and we will see you next Reboot.